of William F. Cody? Maybe not, but you've heard of Buffalo Bill. They're the same feller, and as the boys say, this is him. Wyoming is mighty proud of Buffalo Bill, and prouder of its wonderful Yellowstone Park, dedicated to the people in 1872. Lying mostly in northwest Wyoming, it is 62 miles long, 54 miles wide, 9/10 under forest. 100 feet from the highway, it is all virgin country, and the largest wild game preserve in America. Shoshone Dam impounds a mighty lake. The dam walls, 108 feet in thickness and only 80 feet across. Its waters benefit a vast farm area. Here at Sylvan Pass, 8,599 feet elevation, the air is heady as wine. Across the hazy valley are the peaks of the Tetons. And boys, there's bars in them thar hills. And here's one of them. His name is Romeo, trying to get some of what Juliet. He says, bear with me a moment, my friend. Sylvan Lake, trout fisher's paradise. We bought this country unsight unseen in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. Just a lot of rocks. People laughed at Trapper Coulter and his tales in 1807 of boiling springs and fountains. They called it Coulter's Hell. They pooh-poohed Jim Bridger's story in 1830, but the geysers were there all right. In 1870, the Washburn Party officially surveyed the strange terrain. The government set it aside for a national park, our first and biggest. This is called the Dragon's Mouth. Elk Meadows. Here and at Jackson Hole are 30,000 head of elk. But we forgot our cards, so we couldn't work our way into the elk convention. We didn't get to see one of them. The average snowfall up here is 110 inches, so there are plenty of waterfalls in summer. My, what a place to camp. But we hate to leave any one place to go to any other. An obliging Ben gets off the highway. Most of them don't. But we must get down to the Spouters. The geyser country lies mostly along the course of the Firehole River. That's a hot name. Yellowstone seems to be the world's halfway vent or spout hole of our internally boiling planet. Far north Iceland is one extreme, far south New Zealand is the other. Yellowstone has more geysers than all the rest of the world put together. These mud volcanoes are called paint pots. Looks like boiling porridge on the stove. The early Indians had a merry way of pushing their enemies into these thermal baths and holding them under. It cured rheumatism, ended the gout, and even took away life itself. Yes, this is a great place to live up here. If you have some ham, you can have some boiled ham and eggs if you have the eggs. And this water's hot, and I mean hot. Step in and try it. All you have to do is hold the egg in there for less than 3 minutes, and out she comes as hard-boiled as a Marine sergeant. Now, what are geysers? How come? Listen, my children, and you shall hear. A geyser isn't a volcano erupting water. It is a periodically erupting spring. The water runs in from melting snow or rain, and when it gets down the vent hole and meets the terrific heat of the molten lava down below, gradually, what with the pressure from below forcing the water rapidly back up through the narrow passage, she gets all het up and bursts into steam, which carries the water on top up with it. Spoof, spoof, see, simple. Simple. Then, according to the size of the opening in the earth, it takes so many minutes or hours to get up steam again. This is called Emerald Pool. Beautiful, eh? And now we approach the real spouter. No politician can compare with the big fellow. Over yonder is Old Faithful Lodge, the most extensive log building in the world. Nearest point to the Old Faithful Geyser, the world's greatest. There's another big one called the Giantess, and there used to be a still bigger geyser, the Excelsior, but she quit cold in 1890 and never gave a gasp since. Old Pluto, the janitor down below, must have forgotten to turn on the steam. Old Faithful heaves his column of boiling water 150 feet high once every hour for 4 minutes, and has been doing so since the memory of man runs not to the contrary. The Washburn-Langford party watched it fascinated in 1870, checked its recurrent spasms, and gave it the name it still bears, Good Old Faithful. It's rather staggering to think that in all probability, this old blowhard has been carrying on like this since the human race was in its infancy. No wonder people wouldn't believe the story, too fantastic. And Terrace's trip in 1834, as printed in the Mormon paper The Wasp, was not accepted either. We named this chap the Candy Kid. He sure loves his cough drops. But here we're down to Yellowstone Lake. You simply can't avoid this lake. It has 100 miles of shoreline all inside the park. The largest high-level lake in America, 7,730 feet elevation. Home of the famous cutthroat trout. If you catch them, they're so humiliated that, well...